Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more buckshot testing. And today we've got a new load that we've never shot before out here, and it's one that I'm not necessarily expecting to see anything amazing out of right off the bat. I really hope it surprises us, but based on some other stuff that I've seen about this particular brand of ammo, their shotgun shells are rather disappointing to say the least. But who knows, I haven't really seen anything on these particular shells, so we're going to try them and see what we can get. But as for the shell I've got here today, I picked up some of these Sterling buckshot shells. The sticker up here is kind of in the way, but as you can see, they are just the typical Sterling green box double-aught buck shells. They are a 2 3/4 inch shell of 9 pellet double-aught buck, moving at about 1,330 feet per second. I don't know how accurate their pellet size actually is, if it's a true double-aught buck or not, but even though it doesn't say anywhere on the box that it is a 9 pellet loaded double-aught, that's what they're kind of saying online, so we'll see as we shoot it. These are the Big Game series shells, whatever that may mean in Sterling factory terms. I doubt it really means a lot, but either way, definitely a pretty interesting load that I haven't tested before, and I haven't really seen a whole lot of other people try it either, so we'll see what they can do. And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I figured we'll start off and kind of get a baseline, and then we can move from there. So of course, I brought out the Remington 1187 here with the factory full choke, which is pretty well always where I start with the vast majority of buckshot shells, since this full choke has always done well with any even remotely decent buckshot load. So we'll see what it can do with these Sterling shells today that are definitely on the cheaper end for buckshot shells. But as for the test today, everything is set up the same as usual. The big sheet of paper is down there at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph so we can get our velocity out of them, as well as a few templates we can lay up over our results to get a little bit better reference point as to how they would have patterned in some real life scenarios. So enough talking, let's head over here and take this shot and see what we're able to get for a starting point out of these Sterling buckshot shells through this full choke today. Okay, so that shell gave us 1241 through the chrono. The box does say 1330, so we are, what is that, 89 feet per second under their claim. And I will say, for being a 9 pellet load of buckshot, moving at mid 1200 feet per second range, they did feel a little bit light in the recoil department for one reason or another. Either way, even though we didn't see the box claim, I think mid 1200s is pretty realistic for where these shells should be living at. So I wouldn't say there's anything too strange to see up here, but what kind of a pattern were we actually able to get down there at 40 yards? Let's go check it out and see what we got. All right, now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, I did confirm that those are a 9 pellet load of buckshot, and we only have 8 of those pellets on the paper. If I had to take a guess now, the 9th probably sailed just over the top, looking at this just straight up and down string of shot we have. And I did measure the 8 pellets that we do have, and they did come out to be 23 inches, so we at least have a 23-inch spread at 40 yards, but we are obviously missing that last pellet, so it is a little bit more open than that. So initially speaking here, this isn't the worst buckshot pattern we've ever tested or seen on the channel, but granted, it is definitely nothing impressive looking, that's for sure. I really don't like the straight up and down just string of shot that we have. I would rather it be a little bit more open, but at least a little more evenly spread around the middle of our pattern, but that's just not the case. And I think that these are probably going to be a little bit all over the place as far as our patterns go, because they do not have a wad, they are not buffered or anything like that. They are essentially just buckshot pellets poured into a hull and crimped. That's about it. So on the blank sheet of paper, nothing super impressive, but we'll throw a couple templates up here to get a little better reference point as to what they would have looked like if you would have actually taken this shot in some more real life type of scenarios. So we'll throw our 10-inch circle up here and see what we got first. Okay, here's the 10-inch circle, and for just the 10-inch circle template, I do give it the benefit of the doubt and put it roughly in the central core area of the pattern so we can get the best idea of what our core looks like. Granted, this one's a straight up and down string, but we do still have 3 pellets within a 10-inch circle, which would be good enough in most scenarios, that's for sure. Even though it's not impressive by the numbers, 3 pellets of double-aught buck flying at you at 40 yards is not going to feel very good, that's for sure. So definitely nowhere near the highest we've seen in here as for our core, but it could have been worse as well. We've seen way worse, that's for sure. But let's throw the deer template up and just see what that would have looked like if you would have taken these shells out in a hunting type of scenario. Okay, here's that deer template, and if we line that up with our point of aim, we had 6 out of the 9 pellets actually hit him, and obviously 2 of them are right through the lungs there, so that's looking very good. We do have one through the front leg and a couple other ones sporadically around here. The rest of them would have all flown right over his back. So even though this is really not a great buckshot pattern, this particular shot would have gotten you the deer. But for me personally, I still think it's a little bit on the edge, or at least undetermined yet. We need to do more testing and see how consistent these actually group or pattern. But even though we would have actually gotten the deer here, I don't trust these enough just yet to say that these can be a reliable hunting load out to 40 yards. But we'll see as we continue to test them. But let's throw the hog template up here real quick. I think it's going to be pretty well the same. But for those of you hog hunters that might be looking for a really cheap load to use, how would these have done for you in that scenario? Okay, here's that hog template, and we had 5 out of the 9 pellets actually hit him, but still we had multiple right through the vitals area there, so you would have gotten the hog. But as you can see here, definitely not a super impressive spread of them are actually hitting what you want downrange, which is another reason why I really don't like that big up and down string. I'd rather just be a little bit more broad open, but an even spread of pellets across the paper. So I don't know. These are a very cheap, very basic import load of buckshot. We've seen way worse actually than this, but still this particular combination didn't give us what I would call a great buckshot pattern. It is technically good enough to do what you need to do, but I wouldn't trust it just yet, I don't think. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? It's definitely not what I would call a fantastic buckshot pattern, that's for sure. It's nowhere near something like a Federal Flight Controller or something like that. But these are an extremely cheap import, really basically loaded buckshot shell. They don't have any wad, they don't have any buffer material or anything like that. It's just pellets in a shotgun hole, that's about it. So for what they are, we could have seen a way worse result than that, I suppose. If you need just pretty cheap range load of buckshot to go mess around with, then sure, these would do you just fine, I'd say. But I don't know that I would trust them necessarily to pattern consistently enough yet to be a hunting load, but we'll see what happens as we continue to test them. But as always, leave your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Sterling ammo or the Sterling buckshot shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? And is there another shotgun or choke combo that you might want to see these shells run through? Let me know all that down below. But at the end of the day here, it is by no means a fantastic pattern, but it did well enough to do what we needed it to do, I suppose. But that's really about it. But with that being said, I've got plenty more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like to. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.